So the next thing I want to do is install some tools in Kali Linux. So like I said, Kali Linux comes with literally thousands of tools that you can use, but they also come with the ability to install tools manually. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to download and install a couple tools real quick just to kind of show you how. But again, we're going to do it as the unprivileged user. And we're just going to have to run the sudo command. Now, typically, I'm going to be honest with you, in real world scenarios, people's like, I'm not going to do that. There's a whole thing about security versus convenience where the more secure something is, the less convenient it is. It's true, but in this day and age, you definitely don't want to be the one who gets caught slacking and find out you're the reason that something happened. Again, just from personal experiences, I've been on pen tests where pretty much every machine was secure and one machine had easy logins that were able to brute force. Oh, by the way, if you do have to manage any type of servers or Active Directory or anything like that, don't use like admin as a username password. Just don't, because that's typically one of the first passwords and username password combinations that we look for. So admin, SA password, user password 1234, your name and a number. Don't use those ever. I keep harping on passwords. Just don't do it. So I'm gonna give you the link to installing tools on Kali Linux. And because we just finished installing updates and upgrades, we really don't need to do it, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to do it anyway. So we're going to run sudo apt-get update. It's going to ask for a password. You're going to enter your secure password, because it better be a secure password. It better not be one of the passwords that I just said not to use. And then we're going to run this upgrade, just double check. Okay, good. Now, some of the tools that you can use for different phases of a penetration test. So there's reconnaissance, there's vulnerability scanning and analysis, there's exploitation, there's post-exploitation or maintaining your access, and then there's your report writing phase. I mean, there's other phases like the pre-engagement, where you're going over the scope of the pen test, the rules of engagement and stuff like that. But for most pen testers, you want to stick with those main ones: your recon, your recon and information gathering, your vulnerability scanning and analysis, your exploitation, what you're going to do after post-exploitation, how you're going to cover your tracks, how are you going to elevate your privileges. And then once you get all of that and you get all the information, you want to make sure that your report writing and documentation is on point. It was like we were joking with, like I was joking with earlier with Security Zombie. We say that it's the most favorite part of a pen test, because usually a really good pen test or a really successful pen test means it's going to be a really long report. But if you want to get paid and you want the client to take you seriously, you definitely want to make sure that your report is well documented with screenshots and proof of concept. Sometimes I even add little video clips of my proof of concept just to validate to the user that, no, look, this really happened and this is what we were able to do. I typically like to do my write-ups and my proof of concepts and my reports to a point where I should be able to hand it to you and you can just look at it and follow the steps and basically recreate the steps on your own. The more I make it easier to read and understand is the less of a hassle I get back from the higher ups when they want to dispute a finding. If I can give it to you and you have no technical knowledge or technical ability in what I do and you can recreate it, then honestly you should just be able to shut the hell up and understand that, okay, it's possible. So one of the tools that we can use for one of the most important phases in a pen test, which is an exploitation. One of the most important phases in a pen test is the first phase, the reconnaissance phase, the information gathering phase, because with the information it can make the rest of the pen test a lot easier. There are some pen tests that are called black box pen tests as opposed to a white box pen test. White box pen tests, the client kind of gives you the IP ranges, they tell you the URLs, they tell you they give you everything you need to know in order to run the pen test. Where a black box, they want you to simulate like a real life hack as much as possible, and they don't tell you anything. So you're gonna have to go out on the internet and you're gonna have to figure it out on your own. So this is where reconnaissance and information gathering is super important. Luckily, there are some tools and some scripts that are out there that actually make it a lot easier and give you all these different recon tools in one spot. And the tool that I'm going to show you how to install now is called Discover. So let's see, I'm going to go. Let's just Google Discover scripts real quick. And actually, I'm going to put this in here. Okay, so these are basically custom bash scripts that are used to automate different steps in the recon phase. You can use it to actually do some scanning or parsing, or you can even create payloads with it for Metasploit. But what we really like Discover for is for the recon part right here. So I'm not going to really get into a whole thing on the how to use it, but we're definitely going to go through how to install it. Maybe we'll do another video on different tool usage, but right now I just want to kind of get you guys set up with a virtual machine, get it secure, and get some tools installed. So we already ran the apt-get update, apt-get upgrade, and we even ran disk upgrade after that. And then what you want to do is, let's see, we want to run this command here. So remember, we have to run sudo because we're not root anymore, and we need to run things as root privilege. So git clone, which is basically a command that clones the that clones the download, clones the file from the website of the tool we want to get. So basically that same Leebeard from github.com/Leebeard discover.git. Now, what you could do, if we leave the command as is, it will download right into your root directory. So if you want to create another folder, or you want it to go to another folder, you would then write / and then the name of the folder you would want. Typically, if you wanted to do that, you could make a directory, or you could point it in another directory. So I'm going to put it, actually no, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it into the root directory. So we're going to hit enter. It's going to clone. And now when you list it, there it is right there. So to install it, what you want to do is you want to move into the directory. So you want to cd or change directory into Discover. Now you're in that folder. And now you see it here. There's a discover.sh. Before we run that though, what we want to do is we want to run this command here. So you want to run sudo again. You usually want to get used to running the sudo command just in case. Sometimes you won't need it, but you just do it as a precaution. All right, so this is going to run some installs for a while. It's going to install a whole bunch of different tools. Bloodhound, which is used for Active Directory when you're testing against Active Directory, and it's going to install a whole bunch of different profiles. There we go. Everyone, okay. So let's see if we can download something else real quick while we're still running this. So what we're gonna do is right click, open up a new terminal window. So the next tool that we're going to download is actually not a tool technically, but you're going to end up having to use this a lot, especially when it comes to fuzzing. If you're going to do web applications, if you're going to do any type of web app hacking, so SQL injection, cross-site scripting, any type of fuzzing like that, or if you're going to try to crack any passwords. The key to being able to run any of these type of exploits or any type of brute force attack is to have the best possible word list you can. There's all type of word lists around. The most popular one is the rocku.txt. I can't remember exactly how many words are in that word list, but you have some word lists that are gigs big. I don't know who has enough time to compile all those words, but I greatly appreciate it because it makes my job a lot easier when you're trying to figure out how to crack a password or how to brute force into something. So, but one of the more popular word lists that we have out there is created by Daniel Meisler. I think I'm pronouncing your name right. If not, I apologize. But he created a word list called SecList. So we're going to download it the same way we downloaded Discover. Oh, look, Discover. Now that I said that, Discover stopped installing. And now it works. So I guess before we download SecList, let's go back and run Discover real quick. So we'll clear it, run the list again. Now you see it there. We'll run sudo discover.sh. Sorry. And this / here is basically like saying execute the command. So here again, you can see different things you can do for recon, for scanning. If you want to test for a web application, if you want to test the SSL, make sure the SSL is up to date. If you want to run a NIC2 scan, if you want to open up multiple tabs in Firefox, all of this is right here. You can, like I said, you can download, you can scan different IP ranges, URL ranges. You can upload your Nmap scripts in here. You can run recon on the domain. You can run recons on a person, or you can even parse information into Salesforce if you have it. The other thing you can actually do, I believe it's in Discover. You can add different APIs. So you can use Shodan, you can use Google, you can use Facebook, Bing. You can use different APIs that will help make the searches and your recon that much better. Like Yagami, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. But like I was saying, you can download all of these APIs into this tool, and it will definitely help. What's the word I'm looking for? Enhance your searches. So we have that running, but we're not going to run that right now. We just want to get it installed. So back to what I was talking about earlier about the SecList. What you want to do is you want to run the same command we ran before. So that was sudo git clone, and then you want to type in the address. So https github.com/Daniel. Nope, I spelled his name wrong. So I might be pronouncing it and spelling it wrong. Let's see. Seclist.git. And again, we're just going to let it go into the root directory. All right, so what we're doing now is, again, we're waiting for this to, I guess, finish installing, which it did. So again, if you list the contents of the root directory, you'll see the discover script that we ran earlier. In documents, downloads, there's your pictures, and there's your sec list. So if you want to cd sec list and then list what's in there, you have your discovery word list, your fuzzing list, stuff for miscellaneous. They have a password list. They have payloads, usernames, web shells. I've pretty much used just about every single one of these folders at some point or another. So let's just do, for example, discovery. So now if you want to do a recon and you want to kind of brute force for DNS, this is VMware right now. Like I said, I kind of showed quickly how to do a VMware and a VMbox import. We didn't do the full install like an ISO file. We just went ahead and downloaded the file from the website, and then once we did that, I showed them how to change their SSH keys and passwords and everything like that, so they're not using the same VM that they downloaded as everybody else. So yes, like I said, if you want to brute force for DNS, you have something there for SNMP, for variables, for web content. So we're going to just go ahead and check the web content real quick. And these are different word lists. Again, these are word lists for well-known Apache Tomcat flaws. These are common backdoors. I use this one a lot when I'm CGI, or where is it? Where's the other one? Common.txt. I use those a lot when I'm trying to use something like a directory buster or Go Buster, when you are testing a web application and you want to test for different directories that may be hidden or that the user may have forgotten about. You typically, when they first start creating websites, they create several directories, and they might only use, out of the 10 they created, they may only use 8 of them. So there's 2 directories that are just out there and they don't even know on this live website that you can then use to leverage for more information, or to leverage to figure out a way into the website and gain access. So these word lists are definitely very helpful. We're just going to back out and we're going to clear the screen again. So we have Discover, we have our word list, and now let's see. This one's probably going to take a while, but we're going to go ahead and we're also going to download and install the OpenViz vulnerability scanner. Basically, what OpenViz is exactly what I said. It's a vulnerability scanner, very similar to Nessus or Qualys, if for those who know how to use those machines. But what a vulnerability scanner is think of it as almost like a antivirus scan, but in reverse. So your antivirus scan, you usually run an antivirus or an anti-malware scan to let you know, hey, there's this adware, or there's this malware. Actually, I'm not even going to say in reverse. It's pretty much the same damn thing. But you usually run an antivirus scan to tell you if your computer is infected with something. That's typically what a vulnerability scanner does. A vulnerability scanner will basically tell the pen tester or the person running the vulnerability scan, hey, this service is out of date. So it may not actually be a virus. So in your so for a user, it's like, oh, we have this virus. But for a pen tester or for a vulnerability analyst, we look at it like, oh, this is running this version of the software. Oh, or oh, they're running this version of this service, or oh, their Windows wasn't updated to the latest software patches. Now we can use that to leverage how we're going to exploit the machine, or how we're going to just whatever we need, whatever it is we need to do. So again, you want to make sure, especially if you're going to be pen testing, you want to make sure that you have a vulnerability scanner installed, that you are using one, but you don't want to rely on it. One thing with vulnerability scanners, they are big with false positives. So a false positive is basically when it tells you something is there, or it tells you it's vulnerable to something, but it's not really. It's not really there. So you want to avoid trusting a vulnerability scanner for that reason, because when you go to write the report and the client comes back and says, okay, well, it says here that we're vulnerable to SQL injection. Well, yeah, that's what the scanner said. But if you didn't go out there and actually validate it, or you don't know how to go out and validate it yourself, they're not going to believe a damn word you say. They're basically going to tell you you're full of shit. And you don't want to be known as someone who relies on vulnerability scanners. So a vulnerability scan is good to complement your pen test. So typically on I'm a beginner using it still. I've been using Cybrary. Yeah, Cybrary has a good course, man. But like I said, you don't want to rely just on a vulnerability scanner. That's the last thing you want to do, and that's the last thing you want to be known for. You want to be able to use the vulnerability scanner and do your manual testing to confirm one another, basically. So you can say, hey, this is what the scanner said, and then this is my manual test, and the manual test actually shows, look, if the vulnerability scanner said cross-site scripting, and I popped the cross-site scripting pop-up screen. You always want to make sure you know what you're doing when you're validating a vulnerability. Otherwise, like I said, your credibility gets thrown out the window. So typically what I do is I write up my stuff and I try to test everything as manual as possible, and I run the vulnerability scanner, but until maybe after I'm done testing, I don't even look at it. I'll look at it and review it and say, okay, yeah, so I did find this, I did find that, or this is a good finding, we weren't able to exploit it, but let's validate it first. And then I attach it to the raw data folder that I send with my report, because I don't want to look at it and say, oh, well, Nessus found this SSL or this SSH vulnerability or whatever vulnerability, and then when he gets to the client's like, we don't even use this. I've been on assessments with guys before where they went in there and they're like, oh, you've I'm trying to think of without basically violating anything, but I've seen where guys come in and say, well, the Nessus scanner says your Cisco service is out of date, and the client comes back and is like, we don't even have a Cisco. We don't use Cisco devices at all in our network. But that's what the scanner said. So, anyway, for OpenViz, OpenViz is already somewhat installed. Wait, is it? I'm speaking out of turn. No, I lied. I apologize once again. So, to install OpenViz, what you want to do is, again, you want to run sudo apt get install OpenViz. Right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this -y. You can run -y because there's going to be a lot of prompts that pop up and say, you know, do you want to continue, yes or no, or this going to install this file, are you okay with it, yes or no. So if you hit -y, what that will do is just basically say yes. You don't need to stop. You don't need to ask me. I'm saying yes to everything. All right, so it's gonna install for a little bit. Once it installs, then we'll actually have to go through the real installation process of OpenViz. OpenViz has finished installing. So if you go here, we're going to clear the screen again. And now we're just going to type open. We're going to write OpenV, and what I did was hit tab, and it'll basically look for every single command or every program that's installed on Kali with those letters in it. It's basically like a find. So you hit tab and it's like a find. So you want to make sure you have what you know what you're looking for. Otherwise, like I said, there will be times where you type it and it's like, hey, there's 4,000 there's 4,000 possible entries. Do you want to check it? So we have OpenViz installed, but we don't have it set up. And if you want to just double check, what you can do is you can run OpenViz check setup. And if you look down here, it'll say error. OpenViz 9 installation is not yet complete. Please follow the instructions. So it gives you, so there's instructions that you could do, but we're just going to go ahead because we already know what we're looking for. And we're going to go run the command OpenViz setup. And this whole damn video I've been saying, remember to use sudo, remember to use sudo. And what do? I go ahead and I run it as a regular user. But this is exactly why you should run it as sudo. Alright, so this is going to take a while. So while this is running, I'm going to go get a drink of water and calm my nerves for a second and go talk to my son. So OpenViz just finished installing. And if you look at the bottom, it'll give you the IP address of where you want to go. So basically, it's your local host on port 9392. So basically, what this did was it opened up that port for you, and then it created the admin user. So the admin user obviously would be admin, and then this will be your password. So all right, so we're gonna copy this one right here. You want to copy in between the quotation marks. So we want to go there, open the link. All right, so here it is. Firefox opens up here. This is the IP address, the URL address, which is 127.0.0.1, which is your local host. But obviously, like I said, you're worried about here, port 9392. So you want to click advanced. You want to add the exception. You get a certificate. Just confirm the security exception. Now, you have your OpenViz user interface. You're going to type in admin, and then you want to paste that password that was in there. So don't save. Oh, another thing. Don't save your passwords into on your web browser. Just don't. We can find that. So what you want to do here, this is your OpenViz interface. So you have your dashboard. This is where you would go for your scans. So you go here. This would give you all the information on the different scans you've ran in the past. All right, we can get back to that in a second. So if you go to administration, right? Here's the admin user that you just finished creating. So admin roles admin, right? See this blue wrench here? You want to click that blue wrench. And then password using existing value, but you want to enter a new password. So you don't have to worry about that super long password that they gave you. But again, I strongly recommend you use a strong password. Something that's definitely hard to crack, but is easy for you to remember. So now, like I said, I changed the password. So it's not that crazy thing that you just had to copy and paste. And then when you log out, just for extra measure, we'll do this again. 127.0.0.1 on port 9392. I didn't do HTTPS. Like I said, got me looking crazy today, but I'm human. Oh shit. Okay. Apparently, I made a boo-boo when I did my password. Oh my gosh. Anything could go wrong. It would today. Alright, well, I guess we're gonna go over how to change your password in the terminal. I am messing up left and right. Alright, so if you do like I did and rushed through creating a password and probably fat fingered it, and the problem was they didn't ask you to confirm it and they didn't match the passwords to make sure that they both were the same. But again, that was my fault because I'm trying to rush and I'm nervous and all of that shit. So here's a command that you would want to run. Let's see. I believe it's dash. I'm trying to remember it here. I have notes for like everything, so I think it's dash dash, but it might be just dash. So we're gonna say equals admin. We're gonna say new password. New password equals for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to run that command. So we'll refresh the page and then we'll try it again. So we'll say admin and there you go. Now we're going to go back again to the administration tab, hit the blue wrench, and we're going to make sure that our password is typed in properly this time. We're going to hit save. We're going to log out. We're going to refresh. And now we'll try it again. See? Easy. All right, so there we go. All right. So what I just did, if you go to scans, okay, whatever. We're going to go back to the dashboard. To run a scan, you go to scans and then you go to tasks. And then it gives you this little wizard. It actually kind of helps you go through the process if you don't really know how to scan it, which is what we'll do again for the sake of the video, because we're almost going 2.5 hours. So You would put in the IP address that you want to scan or the host name, and then you would just hit start scan. It would just give a quick basic scan, and yeah, it give you what you need to get from there. Now, like I said, there are more features that you can use, but again, for the sake of this video right now, we're gonna stick to that. If you want to do a scan, just create a task. Isn't that kind of what I did, or are you talking about something different, Nico? Scans task. Okay, new task. You're right. You could do that as well. I just did, again, for the sake of the video, I just said just follow the task wizard. But you are absolutely correct, sir. We've gone over the tools. We've secured it. We got new SSH keys. And we have an unprivileged user. So we secured it that way as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we should probably go over. Because the next one I'm going to do is I'll probably just kind of do like a quick overview of some of the more popular tools like a Nmap or a Metasploit and stuff, because the eventual goal is I'm going to start using this stream to start going through the different VulnHub machines. So when I say the different VulnHub machines, for those of you who are familiar with the OSCP exam, there are a bunch of machines on VulnHub that are free, and I say free because they're free. And you don't have to pay the 90-day lab access or 60-day lab access until you're absolutely ready, because it can get expensive, especially if you're like me and have like 1,000 things going on with a full-time job and kids and soccer practice and tennis practice, and you also need to work out and make sure you're healthy, and your wife has a business. You run out of time. That 60 days, that 90 days runs up quick, and then next you have to spend another $450 to $500 for more lab time. So I want to make sure that I'm as prepared as possible, so when I do go into the labs, I can just kind of breeze through the labs, take my exam, and finally pass this damn time. Because the last time I took the test, I don't know if you guys actually follow my blog, but I will again put since it's my blog and it's my stream, fuck it, I'm going to put the link to my article of basically what happened to me. Can I ask? Go ahead, ask something. You can ask whatever. I wanted to do a Q&A, so I don't know if you're coming in late. I don't claim to know everything, but I will try to help as much as possible. So what's up? Do you recommend Burp? Yes, I recommend Burp. Period. For most anything that has to do with web app pen testing, and if it's related to web application, Burp Suite will have a module either available or available for you to download or install. Also, if you have the $400, spend the $400 for Burp Suite Pro. It's absolutely worth it. If you start doing anything on your own, or you start doing bug bounties, you'll make that $400 back in no time, and it's a great investment to have. It's so much faster than the free version of Burp, and there's so many other modules that you can download and use and utilize from Burp Suite Pro. And just for the record, I am not a paid spokesperson. However, Portswigger, if you want to, I can be. But I just definitely love the tool. Like I said, some people prefer OWASP Zap, and that's a great tool as well. But I just, like I said, Burp Suite just came easily to me. And where is it? The people who actually make Burp Suite and wrote the Web Application Hacker Handbook, which, by the way, is like the web app hacking Bible. Not to upset anybody who is super religious. Jeez, I'm like, I don't want to trigger nobody, but they wrote the Web Application Hackers Handbook Part 2, which is something that for any pen tester, you have to get that book. I can give you a link here for it. Give me 1 second. But they also just recently they announced that they weren't coming out with a Part 3, which was disappointing at first, but then they explained why they weren't coming out with a Part 3, and that was because they came out with actually. I'll put the link for the book. That's the link for the book, and the Web Security Academy is here. And the great thing about the Web Security Academy is it goes through all of the basic web application stuff that you'll come across using Burp Suite from the makers of Burp Suite, and it's absolutely free. So that's a great resource. Here, I'll move it over here. I guess you just have to create an account, and you're good to go. And like I said, they're constantly updating it. So they're updating the modules like sometimes weekly. So like I was saying before about my whole purpose for this stream, I wrote a blog post a while back about my experience with the OSCP. I underestimated it, thinking it was going to be like the CEH or the CPT or any of the other certifications I've taken. And again, I figured I can do it while being super dad, while working full time, while being... no problem, man. That's the whole purpose. I just want to try to help everybody to kind of get in this field and kind of be successful. And, there's millions of jobs available, and whether it's pen testing or blue team stuff or vulnerability analysis, there's millions of jobs out here, and there's a lot of money that they're throwing out here, and it shouldn't be all about the money. Get the money. Get the fucking money. It shouldn't be about the money. Get the money. But if you're going to do something that's going to help somebody or help a multi-billion-dollar company stay secure, you should get paid for it. That's just my take on it. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there that, you have to be super smart and you have to be super brainy to do this job. And I was one of those people who really thought that I just wasn't smart enough. I psyched myself out as a child thinking I wasn't good enough for computers. And then I got into it, and my only regret was that I didn't freaking do it sooner. But back to the OSCP, like I said, I underestimated it, thinking I can do this while working 50, 60 hours a week and still making sure I made it to all my kids' practices and games and homework and everything I had to do, and not actually taking the time out. I did, however, root, I think, something about 26 or 27 machines. And then, I took the test, and I missed it by 15 points. And then I sat there and said I was going to retest, and then I unfortunately got sick, and I've been basically recovering ever since. So now I'm like, well, since I'm going to recover and I'm going to try to take a different approach and take it more seriously this time, I figured I should just share my journey, because along the way I've met several people who were just like, man, I just wish I had the time, or I wish I hadn't had the skill set, or I wish I knew how. So this journey is going to be, beneficial for me as much as it's going to be for anybody who's watching it. Because there might be some shit that I learn along the way that I can help somebody, or somebody else can pass a tip off to me, and vice versa. And like I said, my goal is to get anybody who follows me, anybody who follows my blog site, please follow my blog site, alphacybersecurity.tech. But anybody who follows any of my platforms that I'm using, my goal is that I want to be able to get you in there, take that damn exam, and walk out of there with that same certification that says I tried harder, and go out there and do the study, do the legwork that you need to do to get your foot in this door and get that money and make a better living for your family. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't actually have my main hacking laptop with me, but that thing is going to freaking get archived and probably put up on some type of pedestal the day it dies, because that thing literally changed my life. I literally went from trying to figure out how I was going to make ends meet to just, I doubled my salary overnight. That's just the best way I can put it. Results may vary, but like I said, just a kid from Bridgeport, Connecticut, who isn't college educated or anything like that. I didn't go to college. I went to the military, came out of the military, and worked a bunch of different jobs until I landed here. So if I can help somebody find a smoother path, that's my goal. So with that, I'm not going to keep y'all too long, because it's almost been 3 damn hours. I appreciate y'all rocking with me for my first blog, my first stream, my first everything here. I would like to do at least a stream at least once a week. I know it's the holiday weekend, so I wanted to get it knocked out anyway and get these nerves out the way, but I plan on bringing better content, and hopefully, like I said, just, follow the journey. And one love. I appreciate everybody. Salute. Y'all have a good night.